Sugar, you are probably sabotaging your own success without even realizing it. Let's talk about 5 bad habits that are secretly holding you back. Okay, sugar, the truth is, we all have bad habits. We all got them. Even successful people have bad habits. But here's the thing, not all bad habits are created equal. There are some bad habits that will keep you stuck in life and hold you back from success. These habits can appear in every area of your life: professional, wellness, relationships. It does not matter. You might even be successful in one area of your life, but find yourself stuck in other areas because of these bad habits. So, to help you get unstuck, let's jump in with the first bad habit. Number 1, excuses. There's a well known quote that says, "Excuses are tools of incompetence used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness, and those who use them seldom specialize in anything else." Though it might sound harsh, this quote perfectly describes what happens when you develop a habit of making excuses. Excuses only serve to tell others what we didn't do, what action was not taken, what progress was not made. They are not the building blocks upon which success can be built. Now, the reason why we develop this habit of making excuses is because we are trying to make ourselves feel better about the action we did not take, the progress we did not make, and the outcome we did not achieve. So, in essence, we think that if we can explain what happened or what didn't happen, it will prevent us from feeling so bad about dropping the ball. We also like to think that our excuses prevent the other person who was impacted by our actions or lack thereof from being upset, hurt, angry, or frustrated. It's like we think, maybe if I make a good enough excuse and explain what happened, then they won't be upset that I didn't keep my word or complete the task. Real talk, sugar, this never works. They're still going to be upset, and probably even more upset when you hit them with that excuse instead of just owning what you did. Speaking of owning it, in giving our excuses, we might also start playing the blame game and using blame as part of our excuse as to why we did not accomplish what we set out to do. Because if it can be their fault instead of being my fault, and I can make it about them and not me, then I don't have to take accountability for my lack of progress and not achieving the desired outcome. Never realizing that in all this explaining and blaming, the only thing that's being produced are more excuses, not results. We're not getting healthier, wealthier, wiser. No, we're not building thriving businesses, healthy relationships, or lives that we genuinely love. This is why the quote says that excuses are used to build bridges to nowhere and monuments of nothingness. Because when you get locked into the habit of excuses, the only thing that you will have at the end of the day are your excuses, which makes this a very destructive habit that kills your success. Number 2, offense and defense. Nope, not talking about football, sugar. I'm talking about the habit of being offended and defensive. Let's start with offense. To feel offended is to feel like someone insulted you. Something they said or did was a slight to you in some way. Now, will there be times in life where we feel offended? Absolutely. But this becomes a habit when everything offends you. What they said, what they did, how they breathe, it all offends you. Honestly, too often we are offended by things that have nothing to do with us, our life, or our goals. Yet we are allowing our offense to create emotional disturbances that interrupt our progress. Sugar, let me make this real simple. If they are not talking to you, don't assume that they are talking about you. And if they are talking to you about you, there is a tactful way to handle it that does not result in you getting stuck in offense. Now, on the flip side of this is where we get defensive. Now, defensiveness is a broad topic that connects to psychological theories and principles that we will not discuss today. For the sake of this conversation, I am speaking specifically about the defensiveness that arises when we are forced to face ourselves, our actions, or our words. The defensiveness that leads to a breakdown in our accountability. We use this defensiveness in an effort to absolve ourselves of the responsibility for what we did or for how we impacted somebody else. This is where we start to get into things like denial, I didn't do it, rejection, You took that the wrong way. Or even the use of our excuses to shift the blame from us to someone or something else. We might even get offended that we're being held accountable and become defensive about the mirror being held in front of us. Here's the thing. When we make a habit of being defensive, we are refusing to take an honest look at ourselves. We are basically giving the Heisman stiff arm to anything that contradicts what we feel, what we think, what we believe. And we are refusing to allow any new information to challenge our view of ourselves and the world. The result is that we become stuck in broken patterns, and we run the risk of repeating these same broken patterns that are keeping us from progressing. So we'll never learn exactly what's getting in the way of our success. We won't know that our bad attitudes are preventing promotion or that our financial practices are keeping us poor. If we don't break this habit, our offense and defense will become the fences that keep us trapped right where we are, unable to move forward. Number 3, stinking thinking. Sugar, what are you thinking? What are the thoughts that you have on repeat in your mind? And are these thoughts mostly positive or negative? All of those negative thoughts that live rent-free in your head and that you keep on a consistent loop, that's stinking thinking. Stinking thinking is a term created by Joyce Meyer to explain the negative thought pattern that, if we get locked into it, leads us to see everything in our life as negative. It does not matter where we are or what's happening, we will find the negative. We could literally wake up first thing in the morning and start stinking thinking about all the bad things that we are dreading for the day before our feet even touch the floor. And sugar, it's basically downhill from there, because once your mind gets set to anticipate the negative is all that you'll ever see, even if you are surrounded by good. This is why stinking thinking is a bad habit that blocks our success, because it will have you rejecting opportunities, people, tasks, simply because you can't see the positive and you are viewing everything through the lens of negativity. Never realizing that the opportunity, the person, the task is the door to your next level. Sugar, we're missing our next levels because our habit of stinking thinking causes us to reject the very people, places, and things that will help you level up. As long as you are allowing negative thoughts to dominate your mental space, you will find yourself blocked from achieving the positive outcomes you desire. Number 4, isolation. I'm not just talking about restricting interactions with people, sugar. I'm talking about our reluctance to let people in. We can build walls around ourselves to keep people from knowing the real us, the true us, what we really feel and think. Now, sometimes we isolate ourselves because someone hurt us and betrayed our trust. We also isolate because we think no one will understand us or understand what we're going through or accept us for who we really are. So to protect ourselves, we push people away. We reduce our social interactions down to, me, myself, and I. Or we hide behind a mask to reduce the chances of getting hurt again. But what started out of self-preservation quickly becomes a bad habit that's holding you back. Now, sugar, I'm not saying that everyone should have access to the full you, your most vulnerable you. No, sugar. We should always use wisdom and have boundaries when deciding who has access to us. However, if you're keeping everyone out, no one knows the real you, not even the people you call your closest friends, then sugar, that's a problem. I'm sure you've heard the saying that floats around every professional circle. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Let me flip that a little bit. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. Who really knows you, sugar? Who knows you well enough to tell when you're struggling and need some encouragement or some help? Who do you allow to hold you accountable so that you can keep progressing towards your goals? Who have you allowed to come alongside the real you and help you reach your next level? Sugar, we all need help. We all need each other. And putting yourself on isolation island might keep you from getting hurt, but it's also keeping you stuck right where you are. Number 5, unforgiveness. Now, This is the one, sugar. This is the one that takes us out the most. And if you watched my previous episode where I talked with my father about why I struggled forgiving him, then you know this is the one that had me in a chokehold. Unforgiveness. Sugar. When someone betrays us, belittle us, break our trust, break our hearts, what we want to do is break our foot off in the Forgiveness is the last thing that we thinking about, but it should be our first response. Because when we hold on to our grudges, resentment toward them, or when we're constantly replaying the things that they did to hurt us, we are using a lot of energy on them and that instead of on what we need, our healing and our progress towards our goals. Now, forgiveness is not always easy. It can take time, and it does not mean that you reconcile with that person. In our episode, my father and I give specific steps to help you navigate the forgiveness process, and I've put the link to that episode below. But for now, what I want you to understand is that when we make unforgiveness a habit, we not forgiving nobody for nothing. First name petty, last name revenge, then sugar. You will find yourself struggling under the weight of anger and bitterness, wondering why you can't seem to get ahead. It's like you're trying to run the 100-meter dash with overstuffed heavy trash bags tied to your ankles. It's going to slow you down. You might make a little progress at first, but carrying that resentment, that bitterness, that anger, that hurt over time will start to chip away at your happiness, zap your energy, rob you of your smile until nothing is left but a shadow of the person you once were and the dreams you once had. We think that by refusing to forgive them, we're doing something to hurt them, when really we're only hurting ourselves and any progress we might make towards our goals. That person has gone on with their life, and we're sitting here stuck wondering why we're not successful. Sugar, to reach your next level, you have to work through that hurt. You have to get to a point where you're not triggered by what they did and it's holding you back. You have to be willing to forgive the unforgivable. Now, sugar, if you have any of these bad habits, excuses, offense and defense, stinking thinking, isolation, and unforgiveness, let's commit to breaking up with them today. And if you need help breaking these bad habits for good, let's chat so that I can help you achieve the success you desire and deserve. Thanks for watching, sugar. See you in the next episode.